This is the real-life Limitless pill. If you've seen the movie, you know that a single pill can double your IQ and give you non-stop energy. I didn't know about that. This pill was only $15 on the internet. In this episode of Real vs. Real, I try a bunch of smart drugs and dive into the controversial world of nootropics. Starting with this one. In the 2011 film Limitless, NZT48 gives our protagonist Eddie perfect recall, higher attention to detail, more energy, and a charisma boost. Sounds great. I'm in. First up is Brain Booster. Basically like the Alpha Brain supplement Joe Rogan takes with phosphatidylserine, whatever, being a main ingredient at 20%. 34,000 Amazon reviews can't be wrong, right? While I give it some time to kick in, let's learn about nootropics themselves. Odds are you've taken them. Wait, what? Yes, in the form of caffeine. In fact, using smart drugs is more common than you think. Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and Barack Obama have all openly shared that they use nootropics to handle their intensely stressful jobs. Is this what makes them different?
Sometimes I'd take it before a podcast, and I'd be like,
What about us average citizens?
More people probably use nootropics than we realize, from CEOs of major corporations to politicians and world leaders.
Would I suddenly become a super genius like what we see on TV and movies?
Not at all. It's a myth that we only use a percentage of the brain. The movie Limitless is based on this idea that we only use a percentage of the brain, and I think it's very important to dispel that myth.
It's been a few hours and I feel fine. I prepped for a shoot, went on a 90-minute walk, gave Yen a bath, met with clients, drove to my partner's for dinner, and did more work. I did win on a scratch ticket, so maybe it made me lucky, but overall, I don't feel any different. So, not exactly NZT. Sorry, Joe Rogan. On to the next one. This is Genius Mushroom, which uses a variety of mushrooms, not those mushrooms, to give you focus and clarity. 42,000 Amazon reviews can't be wrong. Oh, and apparently you need to take 3 of them on an empty stomach, which is a lot, but they don't taste bad. I did a little gardening in my work clothes, apparently. And was off to a great cognitive start by promptly forgetting my car keys in the house and arriving 30 minutes early to a screening room. I then met with a client and took lunch in my car.
So far I'm doing good. I don't feel any more energetic than I normally am. And normally I have coffee first thing in the morning. But right now I don't feel any different than I normally do. I don't know. I will say one thing is usually around 2 o'clock p.m. I get a crash where I'm just absolutely exhausted. So we will see if that happens. Right now it is about 1:30 and I'm taking lunch a little late. But that's okay. We'll see if I actually get tired or not.
I'm no CEO, but I am a busy woman, and a real-life Limitless pill would help tremendously. In Limitless, Eddie uses it to gain incredible wealth, and the movie ends with him running for Senate. Can a single pill do this at $20 and 2-day shipping?
For the most part, I would not personally buy anything off of Amazon to use as a cognitive enhancer. And I would assume that someone is just trying to sell me something to make money. Many of those substances have not been shown to improve cognitive performance at all. All they're doing is making you have very expensive urine.
It is the end of the day, and I actually feel good. You know, out of all of them, I thought this was going to be the most gimmicky and the one that I was going to make fun of. I feel pretty darn awake. Normally by this time when I come home, I am done with work. I mean, I just did about a 10-hour day with driving an hour each direction. And I'm not tired because normally by 6 p.m. I'm done. I just want to eat dinner, shower, and I go straight to bed. But I actually feel pretty awake, almost like it's 11 a.m. instead of 6 p.m. So I don't know, I was going to make fun of this, you guys. I was going to joke about how stupid mushrooms weren't going to do anything, but I mentally feel really good. I don't feel a buzz or anything. I just don't feel exhausted. I did swap out my $20 scratch ticket and won $40, so I'm even luckier. My modafinil has arrived, but before it did, I actually took another type of nootropic that anybody could go buy right now for less than $5 at the grocery store. Red Bull. I'll be drinking the Japanese green edition, but the ingredients are the same: niacin, taurine, B12, caffeine, and sugar. I went to work, taught my editing class, and finished it by lunch. Afterwards, it rained in true Colorado fashion and ruined my outdoor shoot.
Normally around this time I'm pretty tired because I've taught 2 classes and I'm on my feet all day long, but I'm very awake. I can feel that I'm wired. There's so much caffeine, taurine, niacin in a Red Bull that I'm just like, wow! So I do not feel like not doing anything. Let's see how this goes.
On the way home, I swapped out that $40 ticket and won $100. Even better. Once I got home, I edited for another 6 hours like it was no big deal. And then that night, I Red Bull crashed.
I had a couple Red Bulls. You ever had a Red Bull? I never had a Red Bull before, but I had a Red Bull last night. I really like Red Bull.
Hey, Carl, you okay?
But how does this stack up against one of the most well-known but costly nootropic?
Modafinil is another drug worth mentioning. It's not a common drug that everybody is using, but I think you're going to hear a lot more about it in the next decade. I say modafinil is a safer amphetamine. You know, like that's sort of like saying something's a little safer than cocaine, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's harmless either, or has no risk of abuse or effects on the cardiovascular system. If you start using modafinil regularly, you could very well find yourself in the position that you can't function as well as you used to if you aren't using it.
So this is definitely working now. I can feel it. It's almost the same effect as caffeine or Red Bull, where I can feel it. It's almost like it's like prying my eyeballs open. I'm forced to have my eyes open and be awake and alert. I'm about ready to leave. This will make driving intense. 90 minutes later, we were at the Stanley Hotel to film the next Real versus Real on ghost hauntings, and I was clearly feeling it.
I am actually a little hyper.
Do it. Go for it.
Time me. That was the wrong way.
Behind! We gotta go! They're gonna leave us, and then we're gonna die! While it made me hyper and awake, I actually feel like it stunted my creativity. It's like I could only focus on one thing at a time when I'm normally used to multitasking and thinking about a lot of things at once to increase productivity and have a lot of ideas. But I think the modafinil just made me focus on a single task. It was kind of hard to think outside the box.
I'm hungry.
And while this was a fun experiment, true smart drugs remain beyond our current reach. When they do arrive, there will be major ethical battles over it. Limitless touches on this, showing that those with pharmaceutical power can gain financial and political power as well.
I think it's sort of normal for people to seek out efficient and effective solutions to maximize our behavioral fitness. We all recognize our time and energy are limited, but there are huge ethical concerns that keep me up at night sometimes, especially when I think about students and athletes taking these drugs. I mean, it's one thing for a fighter pilot or maybe a surgeon who's been up for 18 hours. It's another thing altogether for a college student to take this to do better on an exam. Think of the term like as a cognitive steroid rather than a nootropic. What about the unfair advantage that you're doing? And how does this factor into our concerns about equity? Most certainly those things will be available to the most privileged as well. And that's something I think to keep in mind, that I think it will just fuel disparities.
But for now, modafinil remains a mythical nootropic that gives you superpowers. Except, I used some of those $100 winnings to buy a $50 scratcher, and I won $150, so you tell me how this works. On that note, let's put it to the test. I took one last modafinil dose to see if this is the real life NZT. Can you really increase your IQ with just a single pill? Wait, did I get dumber? If you enjoyed this video, you'll love the energy of a real-life sword fight. You can watch that video right here.